Hello everyone, Yuriofwind here, and welcome back to Gaming Mysteries, where I must say, I'm quite pleased with how certain things have turned out. My sinus pressure? Gone. Also, in the last Kingdom Hearts Gaming Mysteries I did, I talked about how Final Mix was still a Japanese-only thing and that Kingdom Hearts 3 was essentially my imaginary best friend. Yet finally, after years, we were blessed with not only the Final Mix action, but also a proper announcement for Kingdom Hearts 3, which by itself makes me stoked to pick up a PS4 in a couple of years when the game is done. But while the future for Kingdom Hearts is something to look forward to, after coming to the realization that we're finally on this final road to Kingdom Hearts 3, what better time than now to go over the various bits of beta and unused content of all the other Kingdom Hearts games mostly that I haven't talked about yet. So today on Gaming Mysteries, I'll be talking about the beta and unused content of Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days, Chain of Memories, like a tidbit from Recoded, and Dream Drop Distance. Now, if anyone's curious as to why I'm covering all these topics in one video rather than talking about them individually, to put simply, not enough info. But I figured it would even out if I just smushed all the topics together into one video, and with that in mind, I'll start things off with 358 over 2 days, as that's the title that I'm most likely going to screw up the name of. Now, Kingdom Hearts in proper fraction days was originally to feature the debut of Pinocchio's world, but due to space restrictions, it ended up being scrapped. The plot for the area, as said by Nomura, was to be set in a circus and playing off the story of Pinocchio. Go figure. A puppet with a heart and nobodies who possess no heart. We planned for a sad episode with Roxas and Xion looking for hope for themselves. A scene I would have liked to see quite a bit, especially with the puppet comparison there, and God knows the story wasn't sad enough already. Aside from Pinocchio, Geppetto was also to appear, as well as Honest John and Gideon from the film. The profile sprites for all these characters remain within the game's final code, and of course, we would later see Pinocchio's world get introduced in 3D. Besides those guys, Hades and Megara were also set to appear in the Colosseum, and Tinkerbell, for some ungodly reason, was originally going to have lines before being made mute, which was probably for the best. And like Pinocchio and friends, their profile sprites were also left within the game's code. Originally, it was intended for you to have access to a Keyblade called the Windmaker, not to be confused with a Wind Waker. Nice name, though. And by using a Wind Gear, the weapon would specialize in air-based combat, though it, along with the gear, were ultimately removed from the final game, although the Windmaker would live on in spirit, as its appearance was given to the Leviathan. So it would live on in physical appearance. Speaking of weapons though, palette swaps for both Midnight Roar and Twilight exist within the game's data, although they don't make an appearance as proper weapons, and while on the subject of things that didn't appear, a Dark Side was to initially appear in Beast's Castle as a boss, though was ultimately replaced with a Dark Follower instead. What's perhaps the most interesting bit of unused content type stuff for 358 over 2 days comes in the form of this early promotional art for it, Birth by Sleep and Coded. Roxas is of course included in his section with the other members of the organization, though he looks much older than he ends up appearing in any of the other titles so far. Several years older, or so I've read. There remains no explanation as to why he appears so much older in this design of himself, although since it is promotional stuff, you kind of have to take that with a grain of salt, I guess. Next up, we're going to tackle our two smaller little topics, and then we'll hop into 3D, but first, Chain of Memories. Now, the biggest loss to Chain of Memories that most of you should probably already know about is Deep Jungle, an area that appeared in the first game and was set to appear again in the Game Boy title, as was the weapon Jungle King as a card, but since Disney no longer had the rights to use the Tarzan character, Deep Jungle and its corresponding Keyblade card thing were left omitted. And while we talk about left out stages, Dive to the Heart was also set to make an appearance at one point, as confirmed by an early screenshot of the game, but it was for whatever reason ultimately discarded. It's assumed that the area would have followed the same structure as all the other areas, or that it was perhaps going to be some kind of tutorial area, which would make sense, so I'm gonna go ahead and keep thinking that. Last thing worth noting for this section is that in early screenshots, or early screenshot of the game, you'll notice that magic cards are substituted with prototype designs. So, that's a thing. And speaking of something that was a thing, next up we have Kingdom Hearts Recoded, which has an astounding one piece of notable info to mention, and that is that originally the game was to use the same type of character icons that were used in Chain of Memories, although in the final version they opted to just use full character portraits instead. And as a coded bonus, in the phone version of the game, Shadow Sora was going to show up in Traverse Town. He did not in fact do that though. Good stuff, phone game, you're important. So next up, we're going to finish things off with Kingdom Hearts 3D Dream Drop Distance, a great game and a terrible abbreviation. In the first trailer of Dream Drop Distance, where Sora is still wearing his OG shit, there are flow motion areas that exist in Traverse Town that allowed Sora to access areas that he wasn't able to access in the final version of the game, which is no huge loss, as those are probably just because it was early in development. An interesting omission, though, is Space Paranoids, the Tron-based stage that appeared in Kingdom Hearts 2. Originally, it was intended for Sora to go to Space Paranoids in this game as well, which I assume would serve as a follow-up to that story, and Riku would instead go to the grid. This ended up being scrapped, though, leaving both characters to go to the same area. Yet another left-out area came in the form of Fantasia. Originally, Sora was to go to Fantasia, and Riku would go to Fantasia 2000, but this too was scrapped. Fantasia 2000, I mean. Reason cited by Numero was, quote, "There's a lot to work with Fantasia, so that's why we just decided to put Sora and Riku in Fantasia." I wouldn't be surprised if Fantasia 2000 ended up showing up in Kingdom Hearts 3, or something like that, because it seemed like they were going for something here. If nothing else, I did notice that they wanted Sora to go to the older versions of the areas, and they wanted Riku to go to the newer versions. That's kind of neat. The game also saw changes to its enemy roster, losing a rabbit-based Dream Eater, which is this scary-looking thing. It would have fought using carrots that it dug from the ground. Good stuff. And also, the Queen Butterfly was originally created as a much smaller common variation of Dream Eater, but instead in the final game was made to be a dive mode only boss. And last up, originally, Kingdom Hearts 3D DDD was going to have both Heartless and Nobodies as its main enemies, as confirmed by Nomura himself, but for whatever, probably more plot-convenient reason, they were kicked out and replaced with the Dream Eaters, probably for plot-convenient reasons, I would say. But that was Kingdom Hearts, the rest mostly unused beta stuff. It's nice that I finally got around to talking about what little there was left to talk about of the series, and the beta stuff, and the unused stuff. But with this, the point is, my messed up words aside, with this, the book is finally closed, and the subject of beta Kingdom Hearts stuff, for now. Meaning all there's left to do is to wait patiently for the new title. I'll see you guys in the next decade. This has been Gaming Mysteries. Thanks for watching. Hey guys, welcome back to Endslate with a video just ended, but I started talking again, so here we are. Of course, you just watched a video, maybe you just watched a video, on Game Mysteries on Kingdom Hearts, The Rest. I didn't call it that. I should have called it that. I'll call it that in spirit, inside my head. Kingdom Hearts, The Rest. I hope you enjoyed it. I've been meaning to talk about the rest of, or what I could talk about, what was left to talk about, I should say, for a while now. So I do hope that people enjoyed that, and I have other videos lined up for this month. New bullshit creepypasta story time next week. But enough about me. Let's talk about other things that are not as related to me, I think. So, two videos that perhaps you want to check out, maybe not, you don't have to, I don't know, I'm just mentioning them because it's kind of the thing. One of them is a bullshit creepypasta story time, the video I did last time on a story called Pokemon Isn't Real, right? It's not real, also. That's what I did last time. If you want to check that out, you may do so. If you do not want to, you do not have to. The other video, because we did something Kingdom Hearts related, I'm thinking it's going to be a Kingdom Hearts related Game Mysteries, so I'll just throw that in there. Probably Birth by Sleep, I'm thinking, maybe. Yeah, probably. And then the bottom, if you liked the video and you want to hang around, hang out, you're free to do so. If you don't want to, you don't have to. Same thing goes with liking the video or sharing or the other stuff that you always get begged to do. I know you do. I know. But, yeah. That covers it. I don't know about you guys, but I need a hug and a nap. So, that's it for Endslate. New bullshit creepypasta story time next week, I think I said. Yeah, so, bye guys. I'll see you next time on Endslate.